Wow.
I think it's pretty clear Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first player taken in this draft, Danny.
Yeah.
Should the Raiders keep that pick, or should they trade it for a bounty of picks?
So I expect them to keep it. He strikes me as the type of guy that Tom Brady would love to have a say in drafting and molding into being a winner and all of that. And a Signetti-Mendoza package deal is something that I would at least be interested in exploring if I was the Raiders, if you're going to draft Mendoza. Like, keeping them together would be something that I would be very intrigued by. But as someone who is a fan of the team that most recently pulled off the trade for the #1 pick, I do think trading the #1 pick for a haul is almost always the right move if you have any doubt about the quarterback. And most of the draft people seem to think Mendoza is going to be the #1 pick, a lot because of Mendoza, but partly because of the quarterback class. That he is not a Drake May level athlete, that he is not a natural talent like Caleb, that there are some questions about Mendoza's ceiling in the pros, that he's more of like a Jared Goff-like prospect. Smart, winner, big, accurate, but has a few.
And by the way, if the Jared Goff-like
right.
prospect turned into Jared Goff, you'd turn the card in right now.
I agree with you, but I'm just talking about the draft, the draft profile from the people that I've read at this point on Mendoza, that there are some questions about it. So just to remind people what the Bears did when they traded the #1 pick in the Bryce Young, it was a first-round pick. It was Bryce Young. They took the 9th overall pick, Darnell Wright. He's their all-pro right tackle. Second-round pick, Tyreek Stevenson, starting corner. The first-round pick next year, now they got lucky, turned into the #1 overall pick, Caleb Williams. Second-round pick, Luther Burden, and DJ Moore.
Can I just real quick before you go, Brew? As great as that all sounds, if Carolina wasn't quite as bad the next year, and instead of getting Caleb Williams, they got all those players plus the 6th overall pick, and we're still starting Justin Fields.
Right.
Well, I feel, you know what I mean?
But you maybe take J.J. McCarthy, you maybe take Bo Nix.
Yeah, well, J.J. McCarthy feels like a disaster. You know, I'm saying it just feels like that worked out perfectly because the team you traded it with then gave you back the #1 pick the following year, which rarely happens.
Also, that draft, people loved Bryce Young.
Yes.
And C.J. Stroud after him. So I'm not. You would get a lot for the #1 pick, but this is a draft where nobody. There's, like you said, it's viewed as kind of a down quarterback class. So are you going to get as much? I don't know that you'll get that haul because people are like, oh, I want to get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or whatever. So look, the fact is, you said if there are questions about the quarterback, there always are questions about the quarterback. Caleb was a no-brainer. And we saw it took him 2 years, and we'll see. I mean, we all believe in him now. I'm the last one to really buy into him. But let's see how it is going forward. Plus, he does have a fantastic coach and play caller in Ben Johnson. Trevor, it has taken 5 years, maybe, right? If he's finally arrived, he was also absolute no-brainer, generational talent. Took him 5 years. People loved. You showed the board, Nick. Yeah. Jameis Winston. Everybody loved Jameis Winston.
Yep.
Didn't pan out. So it is always a question mark with the quarterback. What I do, look, and I'm not saying he's a sure thing. Physically, he's big, which you like. He's got decent athleticism. I mean, he's not a great athlete, but he showed some athleticism, obviously, on that run.
Very tough.
See, what I think he has, and this is where you might be about Brady, the intangibles. He's got the toughness, as he showed. He's got heart. He's a leader. He's smart and intelligent. He processes quickly. Like, he has all. We know at the NFL level, it's up here. That's how Brady succeeded and became so great. Like, so he seems to have those things, more intangibles than the tangibles. Plus, the accuracy is great. And so I think they need to take, because even if they get, to your point, a bounty, but don't end up getting a quarterback in the next 3 years, that bounty is somewhat limited. We're seeing some teams with guys right now in the Final Four that we didn't think were necessarily great quarterbacks. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but ideally you want to get a guy that is your quarterback for the next 10 years. So I would draft Mendoza if I'm the
Raiders may be there kind of insurance plan on if they were to trade the pick is we don't need who we trade the pick to give us the number one pick. We're going to have the number one pick again next year if we are trading. Maybe that you also trade Max Crosby. You do a full true teardown. But Brew, can I just tell you what's happening here? Why Danny is trying to encourage the Raiders to move that pick. Danny watched football this weekend, playoff football, and saw Bo Nix play. And then he watched playoff football last night and saw Fernando Mendoza play. And he's like, if Mendoza goes to the AFC West, Herbert is officially the worst playoff performer of all the quarterbacks there.
All right, let's get straight to the point. The Las Vegas Raiders need to select quarterback Diego Mendoza with the first overall pick. Do not overcomplicate this. Do not attempt to get clever. The entire situation with the Chicago Bears landing a generational prospect was one of the luckiest breaks in recent memory. You are not guaranteed, or even likely, to replicate that kind of fortune. Sure, we could hypothecate, if they had the 6th pick, maybe you land Bo Nix. Or you end up with a later selection and are stuck with a prospect like Spencer Rattler. Congratulations. Then you're in quarterback purgatory for another full season. As a Raiders fan, I could live with the outcome of drafting Mendoza and him ultimately not reaching the superstar level we envisioned. That's a disappointment, but it's a calculated risk inherent to the draft. I am not okay with the alternative. Trading away the pick, watching Mendoza become a star for another franchise, and being left with nothing. I simply cannot abide that scenario. It is an unacceptable outcome. The Raiders find themselves in a fascinating strategic position. The debate exists. Should they trade an elite asset like Max Crosby to accumulate more draft capital for a broader rebuild? While the roster undeniably requires significant work, a shrewd draft strategy coupled with intelligent free agency moves can catalyze a turnaround. Secure the quarterback first, pair him with the right head coach, add complementary pieces in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, and be strategic in free agency. This blueprint can genuinely redirect the franchise's trajectory. This process might require a bit more patience, perhaps a 2 to 3 year build rather than an instantaneous 1-year fix. We often discuss rapid turnarounds, citing teams like the New England Patriots or Chicago Bears, noting how a new coach like Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson sparked immediate improvement. However, those situations frequently involved a quarterback already in his 2nd year, or multiple prior drafts and free agency periods to lay the groundwork. The Raiders' project is more foundational. With the correct head coach, and this is the indispensable element, a little luck, strategic free agency, like the Bears fortifying their offensive line or the Patriots adding key veterans on both sides of the ball, and a focused draft, you can accelerate the timeline. When all these components align, you can become a formidable team in a relatively short period. Consider the broader AFC West landscape. In a couple of years, Patrick Mahomes will be approaching his mid-30s. Andy Reid will eventually contemplate retirement. The duo isn't going to continue indefinitely. Justin Herbert, for all his talent, is enduring physical punishment season after season. The Denver Broncos, with Bo Nix, possess the longest runway, but they are already ahead in their developmental curve. The dominance of these divisional rivals, particularly the Chiefs' historic run, is statistically unlikely to persist at the same peak for another decade. This isn't declaring their demise. It's acknowledging the natural cycle of the league. They have fewer elite years ahead than behind them. This provides the Raiders with a window, time to construct a sustainable contender. You build that foundation behind a talent like Diego Mendoza. Secure a great coach, draft Mendoza, and you potentially have the cornerstone pieces: an innovative coach and a franchise quarterback who is also a natural leader. We've all observed Mendoza's demeanor in interviews, his poise, his evident command. Players will want to rally around him. The fan base will embrace him as the face of the franchise. It is the most logical, high-upside decision available. If it doesn't pan out, you can reconcile that the draft is an imperfect science. Figuring it out is hard, as they say. I am willing to accept that risk. The alternative is far more perilous. What if you meticulously build a strong roster over the next 2 years, only to find yourself asking, who is our quarterback? By the time you're ready to contend, you might be forced to select the 5th best quarterback in a weaker class, or gamble on an unknown commodity. Quarterback draft evaluations are notoriously volatile. Recall that throughout last season, the overwhelming consensus was that this upcoming draft would be historically deep at quarterback. That perceived strength was reportedly a factor in some teams' trade decisions last year. Now, in January, the narrative has flipped, with many labeling it a weak class outside of Mendoza. This illustrates the folly of projecting too far ahead. Predictions are ephemeral. We can list promising names for future drafts, but we have no concrete idea what those classes will actually yield. We do have a clear evaluation of Diego Mendoza right now. He is the known commodity, the premier asset. The Raiders must not fall prey to the parable of the dog and its reflection. The dog, carrying a bone, sees what it believes is a bigger bone in the water, its own reflection, drops its real bone to snatch the illusory one, and ends up with nothing. Do not be that dog, Las Vegas Raiders. Do not discard the tangible, top-tier talent in hand for the nebulous promise of something better in the future. But these are simply my strategic perspectives. I am absolutely eager to hear yours. What are your thoughts on Diego Mendoza? Do you believe he is a non-negotiable selection for the Las Vegas Raiders with the first overall pick? Let me know your analysis in the comment section below. I read every single comment. So, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, let's get some discussions going. Let's have some passionate debates. But ultimately, let's enjoy the conversation. Please consider subscribing. We are building an incredible community here, and I would absolutely love to see you become part of it. My aim is to create something we all feel a genuine connection to, something we're truly excited to be a part of. I believe we're making significant progress. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely helps with visibility and the platform's algorithm. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.